The cameras were rolling, the lights blazing, and millions were watching live when it happened. Donald Trump leaned back in his chair, smirking, convinced that tonight would be just another easy performance. The crowd was restless but under his control, waiting for one of his trademark punchlines. And then in a single breath, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett leaned forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "Donald, you've been hiding a secret deal, and tonight everyone is going to hear about it." The words landed like an explosion. Gasps shot through the audience. Some jumped to their feet, others froze in stunned silence. Trump's face stiffened for the first time all evening. What was supposed to be a spectacle of dominance turned into a moment of deadly vulnerability. The live broadcast captured every second as Crockett refused to blink, her eyes locked on Trump, daring him to deny it. The eruption was instant. The crowd roared, reporters scrambled, hashtags ignited across social media. A single revelation had flipped the entire stage upside down. This was no longer entertainment. This was exposure, and Trump was trapped in front of the world. For most of the night, Donald Trump had felt untouchable. He mocked his rivals, waved off tough questions, and delivered punchy one-liners that sent his supporters into bursts of applause. He laughed louder than the critics, convinced that no one could corner him on live television. The stage was his domain, and the cameras only magnified his confidence. But Jasmine Crockett had walked into that studio with a different mission. She wasn't there to trade insults or play the role of a background critic. She was armed with specifics, documents, and a determination to drop them at the exact moment when Trump least expected it. The so-called secret deal had been whispered about in closed circles for months, an arrangement with powerful interests overseas, sealed behind closed doors, never meant for the public eye. Trump's allies had dismissed it as rumor, insisting nothing concrete existed. But Crockett wasn't bluffing. She had details, and she was ready to name them. As the tension built, Trump leaned forward, interrupting, trying to laugh it off. Yet the crowd sensed something shifting. This wasn't a routine jab. It was a revelation that promised to shatter his narrative. Crockett's calm delivery contrasted sharply with Trump's forced bravado, setting the stage for a confrontation unlike any he had faced before. Jasmine Crockett didn't waste a second. She lifted her voice above the noise and started firing off the details like bullets. The deal wasn't just talk. It was signed. Money moved through hidden channels, offshore accounts, and the partners weren't American. They were foreign interests who wanted influence right here in our government. The room exploded. Reporters shouted over each other, demanding sources, demanding proof. Camera crews zoomed in, capturing every flicker of Trump's expression as he shifted in his chair. His face tightened, his jaw clenched, but he forced a laugh that sounded hollow, even mocking. "That's a lie. That's a disgusting smear. You don't have a single shred of evidence." But Crockett didn't flinch. She leaned into the microphone, her words sharp as glass. "I have receipts, bank transfers, dates, signatures. Do you want me to read them out loud? Because I will right now in front of the entire nation." The audience roared. Some booed Trump, others screamed in disbelief, and the split second of chaos was enough to make the broadcast feel like an earthquake shaking live television. Social media lit up instantly, with clips of Trump shouting already going viral before he could even finish his sentence. Trump tried to bulldoze his way through, shouting, "Fake! All fake news! It's a witch hunt, a disgrace, the same garbage they've thrown at me for years!" He pointed at Crockett, his finger trembling with rage. "You're a fraud! You're nothing! Nobody believes you!" Crockett's voice cut through his protest like a blade. "Donald, you can yell all you want, but the truth doesn't need your permission to exist. You made the deal. You took the money, and America deserves to know." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some supporters shouted back, trying to drown her out, but her words kept echoing. Commentators on live panels interrupted their own analysis as producers fed them lines. Crockett claims to have documents. Crockett says she'll release proof. Trump's face grew redder, his voice cracking under the strain of denial. Each attempt to shout her down only made him look smaller, more cornered. Crockett, meanwhile, stayed locked in, delivering her lines with calm fury. The tension was unbearable. Every word she spoke tightened the trap. Every desperate outburst from Trump made it worse. What was meant to be his stage had become her battlefield, and the meltdown was unfolding live with no escape. Donald Trump's voice cracked as he pounded the table, his words tumbling out in a frenzy. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're making this up. Nobody believes this garbage. Nobody!" His face was flushed, his hands shaking, the fury raw and uncontained. What had started as defiance now looked like panic broadcast live to millions. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some of his loyalists screamed in his defense, but their chants were drowned out by boos, jeers, and the sound of Crockett's voice slicing through the noise. "Donald, the louder you yell, the guiltier you sound!" He spun toward her, pointing a finger in rage. "You're a liar, a disgrace to Congress. You should be thrown out for even saying this." The words stumbled out, tangled and desperate, as though he was trying to claw his way out of a corner that only grew smaller by the second. And then Crockett struck with the line that ended the argument. She leaned forward, her voice low but amplified by the silence that suddenly fell across the room. "You can't call it fake, Donald, when your own signature is on the deal." The reaction was volcanic. The audience gasped. Some stood with hands over their mouths, others shouted in shock. Reporters nearly tripped over their microphones trying to confirm what they had just heard. The camera cut back to Trump, his eyes darting, his mouth opening but no words coming out. Crockett didn't need to say another syllable. That one sentence was enough. The meltdown had reached its peak. Trump's fury had collapsed into silence, and the moment was seared into history. The studio was still buzzing, the echoes of Crockett's words hanging heavy in the air. Trump sat frozen, his usual bravado shattered, his silence louder than any defense he could muster. The crowd, divided and electrified, shouted over one another, some chanting his name in defiance, others roaring approval for Crockett's fearless strike. But the damage was already done. Clips of the confrontation were flooding every social media feed in real time. Headlines blinking across news tickers. Crockett reveals Trump's secret deal. Within minutes, the meltdown wasn't just a story. It was the story, replayed in loops across the nation and dissected from every angle. Commentators called it a political earthquake. Some said it exposed the fragility of Trump's power, proving that beneath the bluster, one undeniable fact could bring everything crashing down. Others saw it as Crockett's rise, the moment she stepped out of the shadows and showed she could stand toe-to-toe with the most dominant figure in American politics. As the cameras kept rolling, Crockett delivered her final words with clarity that pierced through the chaos. "The truth matters. Power doesn't put you above accountability, and tonight proves it." The audience erupted once more, this time with a force that drowned out Trump completely. For many watching, it wasn't just a debate. It was a turning point, a reminder that even the loudest voices can break when confronted with the weight of their own secrets. And as the broadcast cut to commercial, one message lingered in the minds of millions. No empire, no matter how powerful, is immune to collapse when the truth finally comes to light.